There's that story of a rich young man that comes up to Jesus and says, "What must I do to inherit, eternal life?" And he's like, "Well, have you followed these commandments?" He's like, "Yeah, I've been doing all those, and those are like those legalistic things you must do." And then Jesus says, "Well, sell everything that you have and come and follow me." And that rich young man goes away sad and says Jesus, loved him, but he let him go. And for me, growing up, there was really nothing that I grew up lacking. I just had resources available to me that I took for granted. And, I began to ask those questions like, well, surely that can't just be a metaphor. Like, he was asking something very literal and very serious of this man, and his other disciples had done that. Like, they had dropped their fishing nets. They had, left and their families and followed Jesus. And beginning to ask those questions about my life was like, okay, like what are the very real concrete things that I just need to drop and do. I was baptized Catholic. I went to private schools my whole life. My dad was and is in law enforcement, so he worked for the Sacramento Police Department. And my mom was a lobbyist. My family talked politics a lot at Thanksgiving, dinner tables. There's also my mom being a lobbyist, spent a lot of time around the state capitol. We moved to 3 different houses, I guess, from when I was born to when I was through high school, and each one was larger. All my friends loved coming over to my house because we just had anything and lots of space. So when I was first graduating from high school, my plan was to go to St. Louis University. I was distracted by a lot of things and got, too much partying, drinking, not going to class, not studying. And then I didn't pull my grades up. I still wasn't focused. And so I was asked to leave St. Louis University, which was a really shameful period of my life. I probably went through about a 5-year period of in and out of community college, kind of figuring out life. I worked nights at FedEx with a friend of mine and working at a grill in Arden Fair Mall, feeling like I was stuck. Like, you can't go anywhere in those jobs. Like, your boss doesn't really care. Like, you're just a number. Oh yeah, this really does lead really nowhere. I started a window cleaning business, and one day my mom and I went to go get my business license, and we were gonna go to brunch, and I wasn't dressed up. I had longer hair, and a lady came up to me and she's like, "Excuse me, you need to leave. You're not supposed to be here." There were some younger homeless people here earlier begging for food. And I remember thinking wow, I've never had anyone speak to me that way before. And if I was homeless, that would have been even worse. So it's kind of a glimpse into that, another person's life, that there's people that don't have anything and then are being treated that way. I was becoming more and more aware of various injustices and evils and harms around the world. I never thought that some people have their electricity turned off because they can't afford to pay their electric bill. Some people in the world just don't even have access to water or electricity, and how that changes their lives. I just took all that for granted. There wasn't Catholics that I knew well in my life that were fully and authentically living out their faith and addressing the various injustices and evils that I was learning about, hearing about, witnessing. I was seeing professed Catholics talk about other people with lack of dignity or understanding or compassion. So I think there was emptiness in my faith because of those reasons. And I was like, I don't know, I don't want to identify as Catholic. Is Jesus just a teacher like Gandhi? And I think those are some of the thoughts that I was having, but they weren't always liberating thoughts. As my awareness of injustice grew and the awareness of suffering in the world grew, and also awareness of my complicity to some of that grew, it was more of a helplessness. What the heck can I do about this?
Pretty creepy. That's pretty creepy. Yeah. Junior's gonna come down later. Ma'am, nature stays outside.
I thought the sun was right there. About nature.
Boss, Bridget, we gotta lighten the load. You know, at Olivia. So Jordan doesn't remember the first time that we met, which is I love telling that story. He gets mad, but I love it. So we actually met in line. We were in an AmeriCorps program, AmeriCorps NCCC, the National Civilian Community Corps. And we met in line, waiting to get our uniforms. And that's where we really got to know each other and go, doing hikes or going canoeing, the different places that we stayed. He was definitely the like California boy. Like that's who he was. He had that hair that they would, remember this in like the late 2000s when people did this all the time because their hair was in their face? He had that haircut. And Jordan was often quoting like Martin Luther King or Gandhi or these, different teachers who definitely are focused on love and peace and justice. But I was like, well, all of that came from Jesus, right? Like Jesus was the one who said that first. I love Jesus. I wasn't afraid that people knew that. And that was just how I was raised. Like, we're Christian, and the reason that we do the things we do is because we're Christian. And I was very open about that. And he was like, okay, like, let's read the New Testament together. Like, let's read the Gospels. Let's read the Gospels together. And yeah, that was like our time that we spent away from everyone else. We were reading the Gospel together.
We decided to start with Matthew, and we would just work our way through the New Testament. Before, the Bible was always this like book that I studied or this book that was ancient and that didn't have any relevance to today. And I don't know, it seemed like words were just jumping off the pages, and I was wanting to learn more, and I was asking, Justin and I were having great conversations about it. And I remember I would call my childhood priest, Father McMahon, and ask him questions like, well, what is this past? Like, Jesus just called her a dog. Like, what's that about? And I think I was also really seeking just authentic Christian living, and the idea of like, you can't just pick and choose, what you want to believe this teaching means. And I think I saw that happening all too often of like, oh, Jesus says turn the cheek or put down your sword. But sometimes those are played off of like, oh, those are just, small things. And I felt like it was giving me more kind of understanding and hope of that I can make a difference in this world. The love that Jessie shows me and continues to show me is the closest that I've experienced God's love in this world. She is that treasure that the man found in the field and sold everything he had to, follow that. We have gone on this faith journey together. And it wouldn't be the same without her. I probably wouldn't be on it without her. I wouldn't be able to be, in formation for the diaconate without her.
Jordan's reconversion really opened my eyes. Now I had a partner who I knew had roots that he was willing to grow. And that was exciting for me to say like, wow, now we can grow something together from the same soil.
Jesus says you can't put new wine into old wineskins because it'll burst the old wineskins. And so in looking at my life and realizing the new wine, my new faith that I was discovering, there was a need for a new way of living and developing support systems that understood my faith, how I understood my faith, and understood the Catholic Church, how I understood the Catholic Church to be. And we began looking around at different communities around the country, and that's how we stumbled upon Nazareth Farm.
And when we first read on the website, like prayer, community, service, simplicity, we were like, this is amazing.
Nazareth Farm is everything we were looking for in regards to like a community of people focusing on these 4 principles.
And when we moved there, it really felt like a fit. Like, we really thought we would stay there for a long time. We had a family week at Nazareth Farm. One of the people who came was the campus minister at Avalon University here in Kansas City. And he said, wouldn't it be great if there was a farm in Kansas City? And we were like, yeah, sure, yeah, they should be everywhere, of course. And he was like, great. So if something comes up, I can call you guys? And we were like, yeah, okay, sure, that'd be great. And then 2 weeks later, he called us and said, there's a building available in Kansas City, and I would love you guys to come and start a farm here. And as soon as I walked through the front door, I said, oh, this is what we're doing with the rest of our lives. Like, I immediately knew that this was the place, this was where we were gonna be.
Our family can make this our way of life, and that we can invite others to join in and continue to challenge and support and hold each other accountable to our faith. That's really exciting, and I feel really blessed by that.
So when we moved here, we were really nervous about what the neighborhood would think about us.
When I seen the Jerusalem sign, I was like, oh, Lord, what we got here?
Una amiga me dijo, ay, Jordan se parece a Jesús.
I thought that they was a bunch of little hippies, along with my friends, until I got to talk to them, and they explained what they was about.
And I think probably still today, we're still just referred to as the hippies that live on Garfield.
I couldn't ask for a better time when they came to my life. I needed some repairs done on my house. At the time, I couldn't afford to get my house done. Did my living room, my dining room.
Jerusalem, if I needed a pair of shoes, Jerusalem would buy me a pair of shoes. I'm serious, they would buy you a pair of shoes. Jerusalem, that's Jerusalem Farm.
Yeah, I think part of what happened to these cucumber seeds is the chickens got out and they scratched all this up. And I think they may have ate a lot of them, especially because they were probably sprouting when they did it. So. Jerusalem Farm is an intentional community.
We're intentionally living together to share life and resources on purpose.
To be able to more readily, radically love our neighbors that surround us. And we do that through home repair, sustainable farming, building relationships in our communities that would otherwise be overlooked.
Hi, Sonny.
Hey, Bobby.
How are you? My name is Bobby Johnson, and I've known Jordan and Sonny for about 5 years. So they came in. At that time, my husband had went to prison, and they would come, and we would have prayer every day, and it was emotional for me, you know. And I would tell Sonny when I come in, no, just don't do it. Show me how to do it so I can help myself. This was the very first project right here. You guys did it like really fast because it didn't need as much work done. Mm-hmm. But after they got done doing everything, I couldn't wait to decorate because I love to decorate.
But you painted a lot of this room.
Yeah, I did a lot, and I did the wall. I did these facing, and I did the trims in the kitchen, and I did this trim right here. Because I just wanted to help you guys.
I know it.
Hace 17 años llegué a vivir a este vecindario. Yo tenía preocupación porque el techo de mi casa estaba destruido y no tenía para arreglarlo. Jordan y un equipo que vino de varios lugares de otros estados vinieron a ayudarme a arreglar la casa. Yo me sentí como salvada porque mi techo era que se estaba cayendo. El año pasado me ayudaron a hacer mi cocina nueva porque estaba muy vieja.
So I organize all the work sites that we do in the community, primarily home repair. We provide all the materials up front, and all of our labor is donated. Volunteers actually pay when they come here to spend a week on retreat, and those funds are a large portion of what allows us to buy the materials for the homeowners. So we consider that like redistribution of wealth towards people that are poor and vulnerable. And then we do the work. When we're completed with the work, homeowners pay us back for the cost of materials. But they're able to pay no interest at a monthly rate. For us, it's not as important that they pay us back quickly or that we have interest, but we see that being an important part of like their dignity and understanding that we are not like this top organization just providing everything, but more so we're like a bridge of access to resources that they otherwise would not have access to. So this is our prayer space, our chapel. This building was originally a convent, and we celebrate Mass here with Father Keith, who's our priest. But in our dining rooms where we share all of our meals, every second Tuesday of the month, we host a community night. And so we invite all the homeowners we work with, neighbors, people we just meet for the first time, like, oh, I'd love to see what Jerusalem Farm is. We'll say, hey, you should come to a community night, and we cook a big meal. Yeah, I think there's something blessed about creating your own food, preparing it with other people. We teach volunteers and folks how to make their food. You can eat healthier when you're not eating processed food all the time. We eat primarily vegetarian. A lot of our vegetables are grown here, and then we also collect every Friday from 2 grocery stores that throw away food. And then we compost what is bad immediately. We freeze or can or preserve in some way things that are going bad that we won't consume right away. And then we consume whatever else. So we don't really ever buy produce. So there's a lot of food waste. I think they say in the US we waste close to 50% of our food is just thrown away. It's an environmental issue, but also that's a justice issue for how many people are hungry, how many people are starving. I think it was in Charity and Truth where Pope Benedict talks about how care for the earth and care for the poor are linked, and that you can't do one and not the other. This is the beginning of our tool library. So we thought, oh, well, we have a lot of tools, we can begin to share those. And then it also worked out because we realized in our community, a lot of people have the skills to fix their house, but the tools are expensive and you can need a lot of them. Everything we have is meant to be shared. St. Basil talks about that, like not to get caught in the trap of thinking everything on the earth is for us. So this is our backyard. We grow food on this space. Back here, we have composting bins under the roof. And so what we do is we take all our food scraps. We also go every Tuesday on bicycles and bike trailers, and we pick up food waste from our neighbors. So the neighbors get buckets and we'll spray paint a logo on them. And then we dump them into these bins here and cover with sawdust. That allows the food to break down. So in about 3 months, that compost, once we fill a bin, will be ready to be spread onto our gardens. And so that's how we're able to add nutrients into our soil without using fertilizers. And also it prevents methane, once again, from being exposed into the atmosphere. You can see the solar panels, so we're completely solar powered here. And then our honeybees are right over here. We have 2 of them right now. We're called Jerusalem Farm. We're not really like probably a farm, we're a glorified garden, but we think that farm is also just more of an attitude and a way of life. Placing things in the right order, people and the essentials of life over things we can so easily get caught up in the city. I can't think of a specific trigger or moment or what it was, but I think I just had this thought of like, I'd really like to start discovering my Catholic faith again. I think now that might have been the Eucharist that I was feeling kind of called back to. I just love the mystery of the body of Christ being fully present in our world at that meal, where we are all equals and we're all sharing. I think that is a foundation of what we do and what I do. I think it was John Paul II where he talks about like the authenticity of the Eucharist that we share is displayed in the way that we love each other outside of Mass.
yo quiero mucho a Jerusalén Farm porque son como mi familia en Estados Unidos. Y yo le digo a Jessie, yo soy la abuela de tus niños, la mexicana abuela.
I'll say this, their family, Joseph, Jesse, Jordan, Sonny, and the whole crew over there, so many of them, I don't even know all of them names.
Standing there with your mentions.
Such good people. I mean, once you come in contact with these people, immediately you know they're like God sent. And once you're around them, you want to be around them again. And again, even when they don't do work for you anymore, this is what I'm saying, the relationship we have, you still keep in touch with them. You call and say how you're doing. Sometimes we communicate on Facebook just to say a prayer. It's not after the work is done, that's 5 years ago. We're still friends, you know, we still see each other. We still go to the functions, or if we have anything, they're invited, you know. It's past beyond the service.
Jalapenos from the garden. This is stir-fried rice from a homeowner from...
There's a document, Evangelii Nuntiandi, Pope Paul VI says that what if you had a group of Christians that lived together in community in such a way that they showed this faith and this hope in something beyond themselves, and they lived in that hope in such a joyous way that others began asking, why do they do these things? What is it that they do? What is that hope? And he talks about that being like the first step of evangelization. I like to think that that is our community in a lot of ways. Hopefully that attracts people to begin to ask those questions.
Find it sleeping in its nest.
Whoa. Secret talent.
Yeah, I thought you would really like that.
Guitar solo. Only take.
Only take, one take.